Welcome to the Bachelor Universe podcast. I am your host, Jim Alexander, and today we will be talking about The Bachelor episode number 5. So that's today's topic of conversation. You can reach me on social media, on Twitter, at JimRKO. So definitely send in your questions, thoughts, comments, and concerns if you have any. But on to the podcast, and let's talk about episode 5 and what happened on The Bachelor this week. First of all, we were left off last episode with Corinne and Taylor arguing by a fire. They were not roasting marshmallows by any means. But they were roasting each other, preventing each other from ripping off one another's heads at that point. So that's how the episode left off. That's where it started off. They go back and forth at it. Really, nothing escalated to a point where it was overly dramatic. So they just talk, got mad at each other, and disappeared. Another early roast ceremony, which is definitely the trend now on the show, due to rose ceremonies really early. So yeah, the thing was that it was basically done in like a barn. These girls were outside. They were shivering. It looked like they were in an ice box because they were just shivering the entire time. You could see everyone's breath breathing. So really, Bachelor production couldn't get them at least inside a house. Was that off limits? Jeez. Anyway, so the roses the first one goes to Whitney. Yeah, Whitney, your favorite Bachelor contestant that you don't know about, because I am not sure who she is and why she's getting a rose and why she's on the show, because I have never heard of Whitney, nor have I seen her on the show, so not sure where has she come from, but apparently Whitney's getting the first rose. Next one was Danielle M. Jasmine, Rachel gets a rose. Then you have Jamie, Josephine, Vanessa, Alexis the Dolphin, Corinne, and then the final one is between Taylor, Astrid, and Sarah, and Taylor gets the rose. So that means goodbye to Astrid and Sarah. Their time has come to an end. So that was it. As the women kind of walk away, I couldn't help but notice that there was an actual carpet rolled out in the barn, like an award-style red carpet. It's rolled out in a barn, and there's like straw all around it from like hay. Yeah, that says it all. Yeah, not good. Then we have our first trip, and the trip is to Swampville, USA, which aka is New Orleans. So yeah, there you go. Nick apparently has never been to New Orleans, but certainly he's not missing out by anything. Chris Harrison arrives and he announces the dates for this week. So we find out there's going to be a one-on-one, there's going to be a group date, and a 2-on-1 date. So that means one person is going home. So the first solo date goes to Rachel. Rachel, the one that got the first impression rose, gets the first solo date on this trip to New Orleans. Where do they go? They go to a flea market. Yeah, so Nick promises that he brought her money, that he's going to buy her stuff, and really, couldn't you do any better than a flea market? So that's where it's going down, at a flea market. Just a bad start to a date. That is not fun. They were like looking through like crocodile heads and all sorts of craziness that they saw in New Orleans. And then they quickly went to eat. So that's probably one of the better choices to do out there. So they were eating, and Nick was having a pastry, and he is quite the messy eater. Just dripping all over himself, crumbs and all that. I mean, Bachelor production, maybe a bib. Get a bib for this man. He could use one. So yeah, at least they ate. Then, I mean, during the dinner date, which came up afterwards, it got even weirder. But before that, on their way to this night dinner date, they just actually jumped into a parade, an oncoming parade, street parade, and Nick just waltzes himself out there with Rachel, and they're dancing and they're filling up the parade. So, like, that wasn't arranged. Come on. The dinner date that I just mentioned, well, it quickly turns into funeral talk. They're talking about some weird funeral, how Rachel's time in New Orleans, or I don't even know what she was talking about, but something about being a funeral. So that was like some big moment. Then they talk about each other's parents. Well, individually, not about each other. If you had to talk about Nick, then we know there's a lot to say. Rachel tells Nick that her father is a judge. So good luck with that, buddy. You got some navigation to do, because Daddy won't be pleased if you come home and you mess up. So there we go. So apparently Rachel comes from an affluent family. Nick, on the other hand, his parents have been married 38 years. Well, I mean, that explains the 105 children that they have in the family. And then Nick breaks the rules, as he says it himself, and he tells her that he's super into her. And then, of course, he offers her a date rose, and they kiss. So, pretty successful date if you're Rachel. Got it done. Then at the hotel, everyone is there to receive the date card, the group date. And it's everyone that's left besides Corinne and Taylor, which means Corinne and Taylor are going on a 2-on-1, and one of them isn't coming back. So that was planted. That was predictable. Obviously, we knew they were going to try to settle this whole war between them two that started last episode, so this is the most obvious pick out there. Then the group date. The group date was a haunted date. By that we mean the women were headed to Homa's house, which is apparently some creepy haunted mansion. They had some house taker guy who like introduced everything. He wasn't really believable. And he just talks about the house being abducted or haunted by an 8-year-old named May. So an 8-year-old girl haunts the house. Couldn't be any less scarier. Not going to be afraid of a child, right? So yeah, of course there's like creepy dolls there among some of the sightings. But the biggest mistake, the biggest crime of it all, is these fools decide to play with a Ouija board. Yes, led by Nick, and he takes a couple of these girls with him, convinces them to play the Ouija board, and the only one that seems to be smart one is Vanessa, who decides that she will have nothing to do with that. So there you go. This is a woman that's a keeper. Clearly she's the smartest one in the room. And Nick, if you didn't know by now, this is a clear sign that this is the woman you want to be with. Because that fool decided to play with a Ouija board. And don't be surprised, Nick, if you're haunted forever and you're forever single. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you play with Ouija boards. So yeah, good luck, Nick, trying to get that curse off. So yeah, they go on a tour of the house, just kind of walking around. Looks kind of phony and comical, this house. Nothing scary about it. It's kind of goofy, actually. There is a sighting that really took me by the edge of my seat, and that was the sighting of Whitney. Whitney is in the house. So, I don't know, they're looking for some 8-year-old ghost kid when the real ghost in the house has arrived, and her name's Whitney. So someone questioned that, because that is the biggest news pretty much from that on. I mean, Whitney, who is she? What is she doing there? Jasmine appears to be the big talker or the brave one of this group, because she's talking about how she doesn't believe in all this stuff and how she's going to take care of these curses and ghosts. Meanwhile, once again, another very scary sighting is Danielle M., who gets some alone time talking to Nick. But what's scary about it is that clearly there's something to be said for Danielle M., because she's wearing these 1970s bell-bottom jeans that are certainly something you'd get if you were trapped in time, in a time machine where you couldn't get out. So there's a question now lingering. Is Danielle a real person? Because those jeans, I don't know where you find them these days. Clearly she's from the past. So another investigation should be taken into that situation. Raven gets some alone time also with Nick, and she, quote-unquote, accidentally reveals that she's falling in love with him. So there you go. Doesn't help her situation, apparently, revealing that, because Danielle M. and her ghost jeans from the 70s received the group date rose. So Danielle M. staying another week, as expected. I expect her to go very far. Now, the fun part, the 2-on-1 date, right? 2-on-1 date. And where would they go? Of course, they're going to do something gimmicky and dumb like they've done until now. And that is keep on going with this theme of haunted and scary. They go to the swamps, to the bayou, which is, of course, anyone's dream if you're in New Orleans to visit the bayou, the swamp-ridden crapland of New Orleans. So they do get to meet with a fortune teller. Yeah, how exciting. So, as if that wasn't fitting enough. So, we have snakes, we have crocodiles, we have a fortune teller. It's really a nice start to any date. I mean, what else would a girl want besides having that trifecta? So, the first victim of the swamp fortune teller is Taylor, who basically hears a bunch of gibberish and mumbo-jumbo that kind of resonates with her, because it's basically talking about looking out for someone like Corinne. Apparently this voodoo person, fortune teller, is a fan of the show because she knows what's going on between those two. Meanwhile, actually, Corinne uses this time to take advantage of it and knock Taylor. So she talks to Nick and really paints a bad picture on Taylor. So Taylor's getting all this advice that probably won't help her with anything. So Corinne makes best use of this swamp time. So while Corinne gets her turn with the swamp fortune teller, Nick gets to kind of confront and chat it up with Taylor. And basically confront her about what he just heard about her from Corinne. So Taylor's not on a good path right now. So basically on the other end, Corinne ends up getting a voodoo doll, like an actual voodoo doll from the fortune teller. Now, why does Corinne get this? Because the fortune teller maybe has this feeling or magical premonition that Corinne would actually put good use of that voodoo doll. I don't know, but it seems like the right person got it, or in this case, the wrong person. It's basically like giving Corinne the voodoo doll. It's like giving keys to the inmates in the asylum to get out, because that's what's about to happen. So there you go. Corinne has now the power. So now it's elimination time. So they have this awkward little table set up, and 3 chairs. Nick, Taylor, and Corinne get to sit and chat, and he awkwardly eliminates her. Yeah, so this is where he bids well to Taylor. Goodbye. The most predictable elimination. We knew she wasn't outlasting Corinne. So then right away after that, Nick just jumps on a boat with Corinne, and they speed off on this motorboat into the vast swamplands or out of there. And of course, Taylor's left alone, stranded in the swamp. Now, it made me kind of think, which one is a worse elimination? Was it Kelsey and Ashley during Chris's season being stranded in the desert, and then him just flying away on a chopper and leaving them there? Or is it Taylor being stuck in the New Orleans swamps, and then we see her being part of some creepy initiation by some locals, and she's going through all these rituals and the fortune tellers there. Which one is the worst elimination? Would you rather be stuck in a desert or in the swamplands with some crazy swamp people? I don't know. That's a tough one. You don't win in any scenario. How about that? Both are losers. So Taylor got screwed, literally. Maybe it was a voodoo doll thing. Maybe Corinne was already poking at it. She gets the rose, so she's sticking around. Now, as Nick gets to a dinner date with Corinne, we see that, him and her chatting up. But the determined Taylor is not letting it go by her. So, kind of like Chad last season, she decides to pursue and confront Nick, following them, and then busts in and interrupts the dinner date where Nick is kissing Corinne. So, good timing by Taylor. And to be continued, of course. This is the new theme. To be continued on everything. Never let a rose ceremony decide the end or anything. We just need to have these cliffhangers. There aren't really any cliffhangers, like, especially last week's, like Corinne and Taylor talking by a fire. Really nothing came of it. This one might be a little bit more confrontational. I think we know that Taylor is gonna gush and bust out all these things about Corinne now. So that's pretty predictable, but something that's probably gonna happen in the next episode. My thoughts on this episode overall, too much gimmicky stuff. I mean, show is fine. I know they've tried to, the last couple of years, just be more centered on, like, gimmicks. But at this point, it's like the producer is stroking themselves to just show how they're in control of everything and how they can turn it into like a farce in a way, or like some sort of like television show or movie, like where they have a theme, and this theme was obviously New Orleans was the place, but the theme was ooh spooky, ooh ghosts, ooh swamps, and they really milked it to the end, to a point where it just got overbearing and too much, and you just don't want to see that because it's too manipulated. So slow it down, Bachelor people, producers. Just go with the theme, but don't really milk it to the very last drop, because it just seems cheap and doesn't seem authentic at all. It seems like you're trying to just do some goofy stuff instead of focus on the aspect of the show, which is dating. Clearly, tonight's episode was about Corinne and Taylor and them feuding with each other. So hopefully that's coming to a close. Well, it did, technically, with Taylor now gone, but we won't get to see much more of that nonsense because it's just kind of played its course. I don't know, they tried to make Taylor as this, obviously Corinne's the villain, but Taylor as like a worthy competitor to her, or like her equal, someone that can handle Corinne, but she really can't. So this was not the right person to go mano-a-mano versus Corinne. So Taylor's gone. I mean, the haunted house stuff in general was just okay. It wasn't bad. It was somewhat entertaining if they just kept it at what it should be and not milked on it. But I guess it is what it is. A little bit different, right? We also got from this episode is that Rachel and Danielle M are back on track with Nick and hot contenders again. They've fallen off the last couple of weeks. They got off to really hot starts. Rachel got the first impression rose. Danielle got the first one-on-one. And then they've been quiet the last few weeks. So they're back on track with Nick, with roses, and they're big contenders. Next week, though, looks pretty dramatic, I'll say that. From the previews, it seems pretty apparent that actually Corinne is going to be leaving after what Taylor comes in and confronts. So it seems that Corinne's run is coming to an end next week, which is a little bit earlier than I expected. That's for sure. And also Nick cries in a scene, and he tells the woman how he's there for the right reasons and that he might never find someone genuine. So Nick's crying, Corinne and Taylor drama finishes up, and it should be an interesting episode next week. So a lot of dramatic moments, at least, seem to be on deck. So that was the review of this episode. And the season so far, I guess we're approaching halfway point. Pretty solid. Not as dramatic as I expected from Nick to be. Clearly, he's playing the puppet role. He's the best puppet ABC could ask for, because he does pretty much what they would want him to do. And he just has this figured out. He really knows the game. He knows how to play it. He knows how this bachelor world circles, and he's just going along with it and milking it for what it's worth. So I guess credit to him on that, for just being a company man. That's why they picked him. So he's been on the show all these times, because he is on the face of the franchise right now. And so far the season's been good. There's obviously heavy dominance by Corinne. Not sure how they're going to go with stuff once she's gone. I mean, they always get the villains have a little bit of a run, and then they just kind of focus on the actual contenders. But I don't know how entertaining this is without Corinne. That's something to be seen going forward once she's eliminated. But any more thoughts? Anything you guys want to ask or feel about the show? Feel free to reach out to me at JimRKO. That's at JIMRKO on Twitter. So add me, follow me, message me, whatever you want, and we'll talk more Bachelor stuff, because we have an episode coming up soon. Just when you know it, it'll be around. So this is it for this week. No major Bachelor news to report on. The casting is still being finalized for the males for the Bachelorette season, so we won't know that yet, but we should know it pretty soon. There should be leaks coming out and rumors about that. So that's pretty much Bachelor Nation in itself. It's pretty quiet right now. The show's the focus. So I will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for joining me. And it's your man, JKO, right here on the Bachelor Universe podcast. Also, before I leave, make sure to check out my blog on every episode and news, and it's at bacheloruniverse.wordpress.com. So check that out and let me know what you think. Leave some comments, and we will talk again about The Bachelor next week. See you guys.